September 2nd, 2020. 61 days until November 3rd. 61 days until the reelection of Donald J. Trump. Barack Obama is still the most corrupt president in U.S. history. Joe Biden has dementia, and the Dems are desperate to hold power. Jimbo John Galt, JimboJohnGalt.com. Lawfare is defined as the misuse of the legal system and principles against an enemy, such as by damaging or delegitimizing them, tying up their time, or winning a public relations victory. Typically used by a person, party, or group that lacks honor and is willing to use winning at any cost as justification for their immoral tactics. It all starts by demonizing their opponent. 95% of the press coverage, it's more than 95%, but 95% of the admitted press coverage of Donald Trump, which is not the news, it's gaslighting, is negative. And yet, the polls show Trump is leading in all of the polls, the swing state polls, the national polls, which is a good sign. Even though he is leading in these Democrat-slanted polls, we have to be careful because they undersample Republicans. And if these polls are showing that Trump is up with this undersampling, they're always skewed to shape public opinion, not to collect and tabulate. The fact that this information is coming out now that Trump is ahead, as opposed to what happened in 2016, is a sign that we are either going to win in a landslide of epic proportions or their behind-the-scenes tactics are 10 times worse than we thought. They're setting it all up. We know it's going to be about mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is a scam. It's perpetuated by rhinos and the Dems, like John Podesta. They're already workshopping it. Post-election tactics, where they've hired 600 lawyers that can immediately be dispersed to all the different courthouses around the country. You have to remember, elections are done state by state. The Secretary of State is the person that's typically in charge for any given state. If you remember the Bush v. Gore of 2000, the Secretary of State of Florida was the linchpin. She was the key. Remember what they did in the 2018 California House seat elections. There were 6 people, 6 Republicans that had won the race. Because of ballot harvesting, the Democrats were able to find votes. We don't know if they were in the trunk of a car or if they were blank, and the Democrats surprisingly, miraculously, came up with the needed votes to outdo the Republicans. The Republicans thought they had won, probably because they did win, and the elections were stolen. They've been delegitimizing Donald Trump forever. Now they're trying to delegitimize the entire process of voting. These blue states, Nevada in particular, are trying to get 100% mail-in voting. They've got the excuse of the CCP virus and that people can't be around other people. And yet they can go to hair salons, Nancy Pelosi, or funerals, John Lewis, and not practice any social distancing. But voting, no. They're priming your subconscious. These stories get drizzled into each daily soap opera script, which we call the news, the fake news. You're seeing these ludicrous articles about Trump stealing mailboxes across the country, and in particular in blue states. You see Nancy Pelosi asking for $25 billion for the post office in her CCP virus $3 trillion bill, along with all of the leftist agenda. In that leftist agenda is mail-in voting, 100% mail-in voting. That's why she goes home while the public suffers, while the restaurants and all of the businesses are closed down. They're sprinkling these articles in that the post office won't be able to handle all of the mail-in voting. So let's not do mail-in voting, Nancy. There have been lies about the sorting machines. Such lies, such propaganda, that their armed faction of the Democratic Party, which is called Antifa, they attacked the Postmaster General's house. Louis DeJoy's house was surrounded, and their terroristic tactics were employed. Screaming for them, screaming obscenities, screaming threats at this poor man. Nobody even knew who the Postmaster General was. All he was doing his job. They're sprinkling all these stories in to lessen your shock and resistance to their petty tactics, so that when Trump does win in a landslide in the Electoral College, they still will want you to not accept it or to believe their lies that Nancy Pelosi should be the interim, the temporary president of the United States, until they can somehow legally wedge whoever replaces Biden, and it won't be Harris, into the presidency. And then they can pull their puppet strings with whoever they insert in. The people that do this have no honor. If you can't win the race, you lose, you make a concession speech, You shake the man's hand and you walk away and you try better next time. The Democrats don't believe in that. The Democrats were not brought up right. The Democrats had bad parenting. Obama's career was built on it. He knocked off his mentor, Alice Palmer, in the Illinois House Senate. His first election. He was a community organizer. And at one time, he was community organizing for Alice Palmer. But he didn't care. These ruthless, no honor, despicable leftists will do anything they can to get power. That's all that this is about. You've already heard Hillary Clinton say Joe Biden should never concede. This is in August. It was in August that Hillary Clinton came out and said that. What does she know? She's corrupt, but she's no dummy. She knows that Joe Biden can't win. Both sides do their war strategizing. The winner of the presidency needs 270 electoral votes. When you look at the map, New York State has 29, California has 55. That's 84, or 31% of the total needed to win the presidency. Right off the bat, the Democrat side has that. They get all 84 votes. They already have a third of what they need to become the president. Throw in Illinois that has 20, which is controlled by Cook County, which is 100% Democrat. You're going to get 20 electoral votes, or 39%. Throw in D.C., the District of Columbia's 3 electoral votes, and you're over 40%, before anybody else is even considered. Trump took Michigan, 16, Pennsylvania, 20, and Florida with 29 in 2016. He flipped a lot of blue states, and it's going to happen again. The leftist Democrats are the first ones to cry foul and run for mommy, run to their courts, run to their judges to make it right. Make it right, mommy. This is where the Democrats haven't had good parenting. There's been no consequences for the little boys and girls' negative behavior. And now they're adults. Now they're the ones that are in charge. That is a scary prospect. That's a scary reality today. They need to be put out to pasture. And Donald Trump is the one to do it. What Obama did was he went and contested his mentor, Alice Palmer's petition signatures. In the races in Chicago and Cook County, what you have to do is you have to get a certain number of signatures in order to be on the ballot. Barack Obama went in with his lawyers and attacked each signature, knocking off not just Alice Palmer, but 2 other candidates. What did this do? This meant that he ran unopposed. His first election was by lawfare. Barack Obama was a Chicago machine politician. Where did he come from? He came out of nowhere. How did he get that speech at the 2012 convention? They were priming him. They were grooming him to be the next guy. The question is, who is pulling Obama's strings? Who are the participants in this silent group that controls all of this? You don't hear their names. You hear George Soros. George Soros is just the money man. He might have some input, but the people that are pulling the strings in this country, we don't know their names. We need to get their names. Even the people that fund Antifa and Black Lives Matter, we don't know their names. We've gotten the corporations, Nike, Amazon, all these big Fortune 500 companies giving money to Black Lives Matter. Is that ignorance? We think that that is ignorance. It has to be. You're killing your own customer. Antifa is a different organization. Antifa is merging with Black Lives Matter or is using Black Lives Matter as a cover. But Antifa are radicals. They are violent. They are dangerous. Who is financing them? They've been around a lot longer. We need to get to the bottom of that. Hopefully Bill Barr, the Attorney General of the United States, and his investigators are diving deep into the money flows. Cut off the money, cut off the violence. You might have some of these radicals that are true believers, but most of these people that are flying in from out of town, from California, from Seattle and Portland, Oregon, those are paid antagonists, paid revolutionaries. There's got to be a list of these people someplace. Who's paying them? How are they getting their money into their bank account? We can start by looking at who's bailing them out. That's the street side of it. The John Podestas, the Bill Kristols, the Rhinos, and the Democrats, the establishment, those are the people that we can see because they're the ones that are public. They're the ones that are going to go into the courts and try to fight Mr. Trump at every level. What can we do? We as individuals need to stand strong. Speak up. Do not give in. The history books are being written as we live our lives. This is the time that matters. What we do as individuals are going to be written about in the history books. not allowing cognitive dissonance to affect the next 100 years. The Constitution is on three legs. It is wobbly right now because of what the courts have done, what these dirty politicians have done. The good news is the undercurrent, the silent majority, is coming alive. Coming alive because the leftist media has lost control. They are promoting the violence, and people are sick of it. The shutdown, people are inside. They're going nuts. They want their freedom back. God gave us our rights, and we gave some of them up for safety under the Constitution. We are taking them back now. A lot of people are pessimistic about our state of affairs. We need to look at this in a historical perspective. This is the most optimistic time in our lifetimes. We've debased the dollar. The world is in chaos. We, the strong, we, the faithful, will come out of this stronger and more powerful in a loving, caring way than imaginable even 3 years ago. And who is the person that has lit the fire? Donald Trump, a true outsider. Nobody thought that he would do what he is doing. Most people don't even understand what he's doing. If you go back and look at what he has said for the last 30 years, from China to the Federal Reserve, to our government, to our politicians, he just spoke from his instinct. And now we are benefiting from that intuition. As always, keep your ears and eyes open, and do not be afraid to speak up. Never bend the knee to these tyrants. Jimbo John Galt, JimboJohnGalt.com.